Peace be upon you all and welcome back to Books and Coffee. It's your host Fadila. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm not here alone. I have two absolutely brilliant minds with me, Abdulrahim and Rasheedat. I'm so happy for both of them to be here. Before we dive into today's episode about mental health, let us meet our guests properly. Rashida, the floor is all yours. Tell us a bit about what you do, tell us about yourself, and a random fact about you.
Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be here. My name is Rasheedat Balogun, and I'm also known as RB from my initials R and B. I'm a poet. I'm so passionate about mental health, and professionally, I am a communicator, a mass communicator. A fun fact about me. So, as someone who deals with art, I am bad with mixing colors. Another fun fact is that I seem like an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert.
Nice to meet you. My name is Abdulrahim Koko. I am a poet and a filmmaker. I am a writer in general. I love literature. And I'm also a mass communicator, so I'm happy to be meeting you, Rashida. A fun fact about me is that, what even is fun about me? I don't know. A fun fact about me is that, I write about everything that comes through my head. I can write at least 20 poems in a day. I like writing about politics as well.
It seems like I brought you guys together. MashaAllah, I'm happy for that. So, Abdulrahim, if you could describe your mental health journey in one word, what would it be?
I'll just say swimming in my brain. That's my mental health, honestly. I keep swimming back and forth. It's never ending. And that's why, I have a whole chapter that is like that, swimming in and out in my book, because I feel like that's the state of my mental health and a lot of my peers as well. It's just a constant thing we struggle with. It gets better and it gets worse.
How about you, Rashida? What word would you use to describe your mental health journey?
Okay, I think I would say God I beg. That's like my word. From being at a place where I was so ignorant about my mental health to now that I'm fully aware, to be also be in a place where I've been to therapy and just constantly learning about what is going on with me. It's just a matter of, oh my God, God I beg. I mean, I've come this far, and even though I honestly did not know I was even going to come this far. I mean, if you had asked me when I was 15 years old that, oh, okay, what do you see yourself doing when you are 20? I mean, I would say, I honestly don't know. Will I even live till then? But then I'm here. So my mental health has just been me just telling God I need help and he should continue to help me.
Really.
So now that we've gotten to know our guest a little bit, let's get right into today's conversation. We all know, everyone, not everyone, but most people are becoming aware of mental health, but not fully aware of what mental health in itself entails. So Rashida, when did mental health become something personal to you?
Okay, so I was in a conversation with someone and we were talking and the person talked about depression. And prior to that, I know that I was already going through suicidal ideation and just being in this state of hopelessness. It kind of clicked that, oh, okay, there might actually be a name to what I was going through. And that conversation made me do more research. I knew what mental health was, and I realized that not even knowing that mental health exists was a problem on its own. And it just became this kind of personal thing for me that, okay, in the search of my own solution, I want to let people also be aware that mental health exists. Whether your mental health is fine or not, just know that mental health exists. It's been a personal journey for me because in the process, I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to get help and just making sure that I thrive despite what life throws at me in terms of my mental health. I feel like my mental health has really kind of shaped the way my life is. And so it's really a personal one. I mean, from even what I do now, I mean, the advocacy that I do, what I write about, it's all on mental health. And that just shows how mental health has shaped me as a person and how personal it is to me.
That's amazing to hear, honestly. Abdulrahim, now the spotlight is on you. When did mental health become something personal for you?
Well, I come from a very large family, like extended family with uncles, aunties, and I was also living in my family house to top it off. So I grew up in a place where I could see people struggling with their mental health so much internally. I was young, obviously, so there was nothing I could do, but then I could see how it wasn't proper from a really young age because I had uncles, cousins, and just even random people that I went to like Islamia with that were just struggling with things mentally. And then around 2019, I was having this severe asthma attacks. I wasn't even asthmatic. Me and my brother were having these asthma attacks, and then we had to go to the hospital for us to actually know. Both me and my brother at the same time were in the hospital for like a week. We weren't really having any asthma attack. It was just more of like panic attacks and anxiety symptoms that kept wobbling. And it was something I really did not enjoy. I used to say 2019 was one of my worst years because of that. That was the year that I knew I had anxiety, really bad anxiety. Like when you grow up with people that, you know, you see them suffering, but then you can't help really mentally. So it's like you have no choice but to just be an empath, like live vicariously through them, like feel what they're feeling and try to understand. So it's like from that age, and then it's like you now see these things, you feel them as well. You are now understanding how you feel. You don't feel good. I've really struggled with my mental health, but then I feel like I'm in a good place right now. But it was just something I grew up seeing people exhibiting, and I knew it wasn't normal behaviors, what was happening around me. So I feel like I just instantly just cared about everyone. I felt like everyone had a story, or everyone had like some sort of thing they were going through that they just didn't want people to know about. So I just care deeply for people because I feel like a lot of people are struggling. They just don't know that they are. Because even some of my uncles, they didn't know they were struggling, but you could tell.
You know, you mentioned something about a lot of people struggling, but not knowing or realizing or acknowledging that they're actually struggling. So, in your case, was it kind of easy for you to talk about it when you like kind of acknowledge, like, okay, this is what I'm going through? And did it take time, or was it like easy to find the right words to use?
I mean, it really never is because of the dynamic that we have here, like in Nigeria, Africa. Like, it's not really something you just go and say, oh, yeah, I feel this way, I feel a certain way, you know. But sometimes people notice, people that love you, they notice. And then, obviously, like I said, for me, it was a case of they thought I was having asthma attacks, and we went and it wasn't asthma. So it's like that was how I knew. And then, obviously, I knew I wasn't happy for sometimes, some time ago, but there wasn't really a way to word it or to say it. You know, you have to be a man, all these things. And that was why I was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to start using my poetry to talk about these things because they're happening, people are relating to it, but nobody can speak up because you're not really allowed to, especially if you're a guy, because it's weak or whatever.
So, Rashida, you mentioned something about you having a conversation with someone. So, in that kind of setting, was it easy for you to talk about it?
At that time, so this was in 2017, and it was when I was in school. I think I was in my second year, and no, I think I was in my first year. I was in my first year. So I don't know, I can't even remember the details of the conversation, but I know that depression was mentioned. And after that, I don't think I maybe talked about, oh, okay, maybe that's how I was feeling. I think it was more of an internal conversation. And after that, it was me like trying to see what I could find online. In the process, I came across mental health NGOs that were in existence at that time, and I could relate to a lot of their posts. And in the process, I even ended up joining a mental health organization, and I went on to volunteer with them. And at that time, conversations was very hard because I remember this. I just remember the situation whereby I was talking with a friend, and I don't know, somehow that friend like kind of told me that, oh, okay, do I bite? And this is simply because of I like mentioned about like what I was going through, and so they just made me realize that a lot of people kind of had different perception about people who were struggling with their mental health. And so I tried as much as possible not to really talk about how I was feeling then, because I didn't want people to like misunderstand and misjudge me. And even trying to get help was also hard because if I wasn't going to communicate, how was I going to get help? And so it took me years to actually get to see a therapist and even get a diagnosis. So conversation was hard at that time, especially with people who were physically present, physically around, because you just realize that mental health is not something we talk about, as Rahim said, and people tend to misunderstand a lot. People tend to misjudge, and so you won't want to like, oh, say something that people would just like, oh, this person, this is how she is, and they would even add other symptoms that you did not talk about for you. So yeah, conversation was really hard.
I relate to what you both said. Sometimes it's very hard to recognize how you're feeling, especially like in a society like ours. Like you mentioned, Rahim, in Africa, particularly Nigeria, in the kind of society we are in, it's very hard and tough to kind of have those conversations with people self that are even not well educated on the topic of mental health. So now that we're speaking about like feelings and, as Rashida mentioned, internal conversations, both of you, you are such creative souls. You present art in different forms. Now let's talk a little bit about how, creativity and healing come together. So when you create, whether it's poetry, films, or books, is it more about healing or survival?
When I first started writing poems, I think this was like 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago. It was more of survival because I needed an outlet to pour out my feelings. And so it was like, oh, okay, me just surviving and then writing out what I was feeling or going through. But then it was a tool of healing for me in 2023 when I was in therapy and I realized that I was being given tools to cope with my emotions, to let go of some things. And at that time, I felt like, why don't I channel these thoughts into writing a book? And it enabled me to complete a book that had been writing for like, I think 3 years then. At that time, when I was writing, I had to even like bring back a lot of past memories. But at the end of the day, I realized that it was very, very healing. It made me realize how far I have come, the brave steps I have taken over the past few years. It's also healing in the way that what I wrote is relatable. And so me seeing that other people can relate to it and other people kind of feel the same way, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And this is something that other people go through. It's not just me. It's not all in my head. It's not just about me. It's about a lot of people out there. So yes, it's healing for me. I find it therapeutic, writing what I'm going through. It's very healing. And same goes for even the documentary. Like I've done a documentary whereby it's about mental health and just trying to get to people to understand what mental health is like in Nigeria. For me, it's healing in a way that, oh, okay, this is how mental health is. I'm now getting to hear other people's perspective on it and letting the world also see, oh, okay, this is what people feel about mental health. This is how mental health is in Nigeria. This is what we need to improve on. These are all tools in which like you kind of you feel better. You don't feel boxed. You're not keeping all the thoughts into your head. You are now like using other means to like get it out there. Yeah, it's really healing.
Yes, this tools kind of make other people and yourself realize that you're not just the only one going through whatever you're going through. You're not alone. There are other people that you don't even know about also going through those things. So, Abraham, what would you say about this? Was it more of a healing kind of thing or survival for you?
I can't say that, but it does help. But I feel like for me, writing has always been second nature for me. Like I've been writing since I was a young person. I've always known that I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I've always known that I wanted to be a writer because I used to write poetry. But every time I wrote poetry, it wasn't something I thought I would ever share. It was just something I did for me. And then I met a doctor in 2022, and he basically asked me if I have things I do that I enjoy, like a hobby. And that was when I told him, "Oh, I write." I showed him some of my poetry, and he was the one that was advising me, "Oh, I should turn it into a book." There are a lot of people that could resonate with it. We had a really good conversation about it, and I was like, "Okay, no problem." And then I made that book, and so many people I've got letters, even people like sending me mails about it, about how they related to it and how it really helped them. And I don't know, I just felt connected to almost every single person that was connecting to my words, to my experience, because I can't lie, my writing is like an extension of my experiences, all the things I see, all the things I consume. So it's like for my book to touch somebody's soul or somebody's head and they feel understood by it, that is my way, at least my little way of contributing to how somebody feels. And it's something that does help. If I'm anxious or sad, I write. So it is survival, honestly, at this point.
Have you ever like written or created something and then some time after you've created it, you kind of realize that, oh my God, this is more than what I thought I was actually carrying?
So there was this guy Zane, he was also telling me this, and then this exactly how mine is as well. Sometimes I would write something, and then after like 3 days, or like sometimes it could be a whole year, and I'll now realize, oh, this is actually why I wrote this. It was about this. It will make sense after a while, like my poetry, like it will make sense after a long time, after I've written it. You just feel this emotion and you write, and then later on you realize, oh, this was why I wrote. This was the reason I wrote this.
So, Rashida, have you ever had that feeling or realization?
Oh, okay. I think maybe because I've always been so aware of what I'm feeling. I wouldn't say I've felt like that, but I think for others, like for example, when I wrote my book, like my mom, I mean, it felt like she had a clearer picture of what I've been going through. I even remember that someone had to even call my mom and be like, wow, like you mean she went through all this? Like I had to mention that not everything was my story, not everything was from my point of view, because it now felt like, oh wow, you went through all of this and I mean you're still standing, that kind of thing. So for me, I think maybe because always been aware of what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, but then I think for other people they tend to get a kind of view of what you've been going through that maybe they didn't understand before that when they read your work.
Going back to what you mentioned about like having conversations, telling people, okay, this is what I'm going through. I feel like writing is a way of putting all those things that you would have said in those conversations that you cannot say. I feel writing is a way of expressing it.
It's like a way of communicating.
Yes, absolutely. Because like most times when I'm like having some down days or feeling certain ways, I kind of like get my book or whatever and just write everything I'm feeling. And then I don't realize like how much I'd poured into paper, not in terms of words or anything, but in terms of like intensity. I'd not realize how much I'd poured into paper till I come back like later and I'm like, exactly. They're like, wait, am I the one that actually wrote this? Oh my goodness. Was it that deep? So having talked about like writing and healing and survival and everything, another layer I really wanted us to explore today is like how our gender can sometimes shape our mental health experiences. So firstly, Rahim, I'm going to direct this question to you. As a man, have you ever felt like the pressure to act fine, even when you were not fine?
I mean, definitely, like all the time. This is a conversation I have with my friends as well. Like, they also feel the same way. Like, even right now, like the fact that I know this is going to be public, people are going to watch this, like, I have to be careful of what I say about my personal experience, my personal journey. Because a girl being depressed and a girl, going through these things, it's much more accepted than a guy. Like, you can't show an inch of sadness if you're a guy. Like, even though like I can say definitely things have definitely been better with this generation, because people get to talk more, and be more expressful. I don't know the word to use, but yeah, it is definitely a challenging thing as a guy to say, oh yeah, I have this. They'll be like, as a man, why are you? And then the funny thing is they also struggle as these men, quotes. Me personally, I don't care. I want to just break those barriers because men do struggle as well. I feel like it's very unfair to say as a man you shouldn't talk about your own experience on earth. It's just terrible, especially people that project these things. Like they see that you're okay, with admitting this and they're not, and to them you're just being weak. So yeah, it's a daily struggle for all men when it comes to mental health.
Absolutely. And I feel like society has a huge role to play in this, the kind of brainwashing. I would call it brainwashing.
The really stressful part is even if men come out and they say, oh yeah, society doesn't care about them, blah blah blah. The issue is we can't really blame anyone. We can't blame the women, even though yeah, there are some women that, like, I've spoken to women that said if their man blah blah should cry in front of them, they're going to break up with him because obviously they see it as weak. I mean, alhamdulillah, that's not my person, but there are women that do think that way. If I can't be comfortable with you, then who do I become comfortable with? But we set, not we, obviously I'm talking men in general, like this patriarchy, we set these standards and we put these expectations on ourselves, so we can't really even complain, even though we're the ones that it's affecting right now when it comes to mental health.
Because I remember I was having a conversation with someone, a guy, and he's like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean by that? And he's like, no, why would a man want to be vulnerable? Blah, blah, blah. And we had like this whole conversation. And I'm like, guy, if you look at the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like he lost so many things. He cried. He even had an entire year to grieve. He's literally the best of mankind. He cried, he grieved, he had these emotions. And then you are telling me you cannot be sad.
Vulnerability is kind of second nature for human beings. Like everybody wants to feel comfortable enough with somebody to that point. And I'm not going to remove anybody because at the end of the day, like we all know you want to be loved. You want somebody to actually cherish you and take care of you. Just because you don't have it does not mean you can't admit that you want that. That's why even Islamically it's half your deen to get married. Even God knows you can't do this life thing alone. You need somebody. You need a partner. as a person. You can't do life alone. You can't not do life alone if you are saying, oh, you won't be vulnerable. You can't be honest with your partner. It doesn't make sense to me, but it can be just my opinion. Maybe that's how I see it, and that's not how it is. And if you fear so much about people seeing you sad or people seeing you broken or whatnot, it's really nothing but like deep rooted insecurity, that comes from being men. Because most men are insecure. Most men I know are insecure about how people see them and how the world perceives them. So I guess it's something that we just have to get past, because it's 2025. Everybody's too busy with their lives for you to care about being seen as weak or not. Just do you and move on with your life, honestly, and help yourself.
Let's turn our focus now to the female aspect. Rashida, as a woman, have you ever felt like you're expected to carry everything and still show up like nothing is wrong?
Okay, yes. I mean, especially for the fact that as a person, I'm also like a mental health first aider, and I also talk about mental health a lot. And I feel like some people even still find it odd that I struggle with my mental health. But in a way, how am I going to talk about mental health better if I'm not struggling with my mental health in the first place? But at the end of the day, I've just come to like grow this kind of mindset that I don't owe anybody anything. I'm not holding anybody's kidney. And so if I want to rest, I should rest. If I want to set boundaries, I should set boundaries. If I want to not carry expectations, I won't carry any expectations, because at the end of the day, I don't owe anybody anything. This is something that I've had to learn on my own and has really helped me. It has even really helped my mental health in long ways. So it's something that I've had to learn. Yeah.
I know the crazy thing about these things, when you eventually kind of want to come out and be like, okay, fine, enough is enough. I'm not going to accept this again. Like you mentioned, drawing boundaries and things like that. People will be like, you've changed a lot. Well, surprise, yes, I've changed and I'm trying to grow. You can't be the same person forever. You have to grow. Do you want to be a stunted plant?
Definitely not.
And I think society forgets that strength also looks like being able to say, I'm not okay. I feel like the more we the more we absorb these things like sponge, or we keep filling the bottle, it will get to a point where everything would eventually burst out, and everything, when you put like a glass bottle, like a wine bottle in the freezer, and it freezes and everything, and it kind of breaks, and everything would just basically explode. It would be like a huge explosion.
Exactly. Like I said, grew up with a lot of men that were struggling and couldn't say anything. They had to always be okay. But at the end of the day, you'll be burnt out. If you need help, you have to be strong enough to actually ask for that help. Because like you said, it's strong, honestly. It's not weak to admit you need help. It's okay. People need a little help sometimes.
I love how honest this conversation has been so far. So now let's talk a little about the lessons and growth that have come with the journey. Rashida, what is one myth about mental health you wish more people would unlearn?
I think I wish that people would unlearn the fact that mental health is not a common topic. Mental health is as common as possible. Like, it's very, very common. Related to that, they should also understand that mental health is general. Everybody has a mental health. Now, whether the mental health is good or bad, whether the mental health is very poor or it is very high functioning, that's according to our individuality. But we all have mental health, and mental health is a topic that is infused in every aspect of our lives. As we go about our daily lives, we deal with different kind of people that would test our patience, that would test our behavior, that would affect how we do things. This is them testing our mental health. Like, if you decide to respond angrily, if you decide to just listen, if you decide to respond after thinking, all these things, they are all related to our mental health. So people should understand that mental health is actually a common, it's not a topic that you leave for later. It's a topic that should be infused in everyday conversation. It's a topic that has even infused itself in our daily lives. And so what we can do is to just open our arms to it and have these conversations and see how to improve our mental health, how we should prioritize mental health. These are conversations that should be prioritized.
I absolutely agree with what you said, Rashida. And I feel like mental health is a need, just the way we need water to survive. So, Abraham, what is one myth about mental health that you wish more people would unlearn?
I don't know if this is like a myth or whatever, and I don't want to act like a doctor because I'm not, but I don't like when people think a specific mental illness or like a disorder, they don't see it as an explanation of what they're doing, but more of like as an excuse of what they shouldn't be doing. And then they do that, and then they use their mental health as this badge of honor that cancels all their wrongdoings. That's very wrong. I feel like if you know what you have, then the point is to work towards, making it better, not using it as an excuse to be a bad person to someone, or use it as an excuse to just be a bad person to yourself, and saying, oh yeah, it's because I have this. I feel like, no, people tend to wear, especially now, like in this my generation, a lot of people glamorize mental health, even though I would honestly say, yes, a lot of people in my generation, there's something going on with them that like needs to be studied. But then I feel like now we wear this mental health as some sort of badge of honor, that we think it's cool and whatnot, and it's really not, because people that do struggle with these things, they know how it is. And also people that diagnose themselves because they've seen a bunch of TikToks that are telling them how they feel or whatnot, not knowing that most of these cases, they have really similar symptoms. So if you don't have like an actual diagnosis or whatnot, you shouldn't be proudly saying to people, oh, you're this, you're that. And then stop calling things upon yourselves that you don't necessarily have. And by the way, I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking to people that specifically say, oh, they have this, or they go around saying they have this, they have that. Just, I don't know. It's not proper, even though, yeah, we're saying, yes, speak up, speak up, speak up. But if truthfully, you don't experience these things, and then you still talk about it so much, and you say, oh, this is you, this, and then it's like a flex, or you're making it lighthearted, it's really not the same. And people that are actually struggling, it's like you're taking away from them in a way. Be true to yourselves. Like, don't glamorize being depressed, don't glamorize an eating disorder or ADHD, especially ADHD, because I have really bad ADHD. Sometimes I feel like it controls my brain and how I feel and how I do things and whatnot, and I was medicated for it. I feel like ADHD specifically is one mental disorder that everybody thinks is cool, because people say it makes you creative, makes you funny, but it's really not. It's a daily struggle. Like, it makes me struggle with a lot of things. It's kind of disheartening when people always say this, because me personally, I won't go around telling people, because it affects me. It actually affects me. So it's like, let's not glamorize these things, really, because there are issues, there are actual issues that affect real people.
In addition to what Rahim said, I think he's trying to talk about people who make their mental health disorders their identity. I understand that there's this need for awareness, there's this need for education about certain mental health disorders and all. But then when you make it your identity and it becomes, oh, okay, for example, who is Rashida? Rashida is someone that is living with, for example, maybe bipolar disorder. You as a person, you are a lot more than that mental health disorder. And so people should try as much as possible not to make it their identity. Yes, the mental health disorder would have a fair share in how your life is or how you behave, but that doesn't make it your identity. I mean, okay, yes, I live with a mental health disorder. It gets to me a lot. It makes me suicidal. It does a lot of things to me. But then I won't introduce myself to people as, oh, okay, I'm Rasheedat Balogun and I'm living with this or that, and this is how it makes me feel. Rather, I will talk about how, as a person, what I'm able to do, how I am a creative, how I'm into filmmaking. I mean, people should know that they have a life outside their mental health disorder, despite what their mental health disorder will do to them. I feel like people shouldn't make it their identity. People should have a life outside that mental health disorder. And at the end of the day, the mental health disorder should look at it as, oh, okay, they are fighting with it, not that they are comfortable in it and just like so accepting to what the mental health disorder does. And so they are not trying to get help. They are not taking their medications. They are not going to therapy. They are not asking for help when they need it. They are not doing anything about it. Even though I know that asking for help and taking active measures towards healing and getting better is actually very hard, but every effort counts. So people shouldn't make it their identity.
Exactly. And I also feel like it's a dangerous thing to do, because as a person, if you get too attached to certain things, I know it's a part of you, but you can't make it all of you. Because what if you get attached to that side? You think, oh, your mental health condition is like some sort of superpower, and it's not. It's just a really dangerous mindset to live inside. You have to, if you need help, you should ask for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just like you mentioned, like the way people are just glamorizing ADHD, and then also there's another one, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Like you just see something on social media. For example, let me use OCD as an example. Like, okay, if an OCD patient is always arranging things in certain order, certain colors, certain patterns. Like, excuse me, it goes way beyond that.
You can't help it, really. That's why it's compulsion. It makes you impulsive. It makes you do weird stuff. It doesn't make you clean. It doesn't make, like, I've seen dirty people that have OCD, It's different for everyone. Like, of course, yes, it does help Like, it's true, a lot of people with OCD like tend to like need stuff, but it goes far beyond that, honestly.
Exactly. And another thing I wanted to mention regards that, like, people need to honestly get educated on these mental health issues. You do not have to have it to go and educate yourself. Everyone should just basically educate themselves.
We're in a point in time where being ignorant is starting to become a choice. Let's talk about our phone, for example. Almost everybody has a phone. So I feel like information is free, it's on our fingertips. You could learn possibly about anything you want to. So you choosing to be uneducated about certain things that are happening rapidly around you, I feel like it's a choice, honestly. You can be educated if you want to.
So everyone listening, if you're struggling with mental health, get help. Talk to someone. Go and seek therapy if that's what you need. Get yourself diagnosed, even though it might be scary to get your diagnosis. And be kinder to people. Everyone, be kinder. Like, this is my, would I say it's my motto statement, or like what I live by. I keep saying be kinder to people, because there are people you do not know who are going through a lot of things, and you're like, when they open up to you, you're like, you're going through that. So, Abdulrahim, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say?
Wow, that's really deep. I mean, I'll just honestly, if I should see my younger self, I'll probably hug myself and then I'll be like, I'm proud of you. I have to tell myself that I'm proud. I have to tell myself that, even if you're struggling, at least, you have your priorities straight. Just be kinder to yourself, love yourself more. I'll definitely encourage my younger self to love himself more, and then just be kind. And I'll also advise myself to not glamorize what I have, because I've been in that situation where when I knew I had ADHD, but for like the longest, like let's say for 2 years, I was very proud of it. I was very happy. I was very happy to tell everyone, till the time that I was actually struggling with it. It was making me not happy, and that was when I knew I actually hate this. I hate how I feel because of this. So I'll definitely tell my younger self to just also not glamorize. Maybe that was me projecting when I was saying the other stuff. So I'll definitely tell my younger self to not glamorize this stuff at all. Just focus on myself and being better.
Beautiful. Rashida, what would you tell your younger self about healing and mental health?
What I'll tell my younger self is that she should take it easy on herself, and that she'll get to stay longer than she thought she would, and that more trials and challenges will come her way than what she thought. I mean, she thought life was over a long time ago, but then she will still face more things. And that she's a brave person. She's someone who has that willingness to fight and live, and her older self is so thankful for that. And that she should maybe talk to her books more. I mean, the things she wrote then, they kind of helped her in future. And so I would say that she should write more, because I don't think people would still even listen to her, even if she had another chance. So she should talk to her books more. She should write more about what she's feeling, and she should stay alive. She should fight to stay alive. That the world is beautiful. There is so much to live for. The world is so beautiful, and that she would eventually be happy. Yeah.
So for me, what I would tell my younger self is, firstly, be very kind to yourself, embrace self-love, and secondly, crying doesn't make you weak. Cry as much as you want. I'm going to cry. Oh my god. So before we continue, let's play this little game thing that we love bringing up in our interview episodes. It's nothing serious. I just have a couple of words here. All you have to do is tell me the first word that pops into your head. You take turns with each word till we exhaust the words. The first word I have here is stress,
Stress reliever.
society,
Capitalism.
rose,
Roses and thorns.
storm,
Wind.
mindset,
Believe.
health,
Wealth.
poetry,
Language.
fear,
Me.
plant,
Flower.
grow.
Not grow.
So now that we've done that, Abraham, if your happiness was a dessert, what would it
A dessert? Ice cream, because I love ice cream.
be? I was actually going to say ice cream.
Very valid.
If joy had a color, what would it be and why? Rashida, you go first, and Abraham, you go next.
For me, it will be pink, because that's my happy favorite color.
For me, it would probably be either grey or white, because grey is like the black ascending into whiteness, trying to get joy. And then when I'm joyful, it's white. It's easy to me.
Guy, I love the way your brain works. Honestly, I really enjoyed our conversation. It was so much fun. Before we wrap up, what is something meaningful that someone can start doing today to support their mental health?
Having at least a doorstep of at least 1 to 2 hours to yourself in a day where you can just reflect on your actions, see how you are reacted to certain behavior. Don't overanalyze yourself though. Don't be nitty gritty. Like, don't be a critic to yourself. Try to see how you reacted to certain things. Maybe if you were angry that day, try to see what made you angry. Reconnect with your brain and like with your heart. Try to just let yourself observe yourself as well instead of observing other people. Focus on yourself and just pay attention to how you feel and react to certain things every day.
I'd say that they should always consider their feelings regarding anything. Okay, you want to meet up with a friend, you want to go somewhere. How is it going to be for you? Like, how are you going to feel after visiting that place? How are you going to feel while making friends with this person? How are you going to feel when you visit this person? How are you going to feel when you eat this thing? How are you going to feel whenever you do certain things? Consider how you're going to feel, because if people consider, for example, now when they're in toxic relationship, if they consider themselves and their feelings, they won't be in toxic relationships. They won't go to places where they would get upset or that would make them feel sad or have low self-esteem, or they won't consume things that would harm them, or they won't watch things that would make them feel sad. When you consider your feeling before you do anything, it will really go a long way, because as I said earlier, everyone has mental health, but not all of us has a mental health disorder. Some of us are dealing with mental stress. Some people it's just come and go. Some people it's a lifelong thing. But what will test your mental health is when you allow things that would make you feel down, make you feel depressed. And a lot of time you have the opportunity to determine what affects you. You know, a certain place gives negative vibes. Don't go there. You know that when you talk to certain people, you feel hopeless, you feel sad, you feel bad about yourself, you rethink life. Sometimes you might even feel suicidal. Just try to avoid them. Factor your feelings before you do anything.
If you have to guess if somebody cares about you or loves you, then they probably don't.
Even for relatives, I mean, automatically all your relatives are supposed to love you, I mean, on a normal day. But then if there's this relative that is always like body shaming you, and I mean, they would say it comes from love. But then if that person is always body shaming you, just have to find a way that you just kind of avoid that person if possible.
Honestly, I honestly agree, because like in the aspect of friends, that's why I'm very key on choosing the kind of people I surround myself with, because like the kind of people you are around, you would eventually kind of absorb their energy with time. You might not know subconsciously, as my mom says, you'd become like them basically. Like for example, if you're around someone that keeps telling you you don't look beautiful in this outfit or something like that,
You just
like
hate yourself.
yes, exactly, for no reason. I feel like that kind of thing comes from a place of jealousy sometimes. It might not come, I might be wrong.
And this is my opinion. I feel like most human beings are like an inch away from hating on themselves, because people are like their worst critics already. So you don't need somebody to devalue you. Be with people that uplift you and make you happy and make you better. So honestly, Rasheedat, I agree with what you're saying. Surround yourself with people that make your mental health better, that make you feel more secure, instead of feeling all this negativity that you already have.
That's why I even love what the both of you mentioned. Like Rahim, you mentioned reflection. Rashida mentioned considering your feelings first. And like they go hand in hand, because if you do not reflect, most times you wouldn't even realize that, oh my God, I'm surrounding myself with the wrong set of people. Every day, just sit back with yourself. Kind of think of, just like you mentioned, everything that you did, what you could have done better. And if you find things that you did that were good and amazing, probably good deeds that you did, congratulate yourself for it. Don't start saying, oh, well, it's too small, I could have done more. Like you said, don't be your worst critic.
Honestly.
Let's just end with this last one. What would you do if you saw your younger self standing in front of you right now? Like, just imagine you're seeing your younger self standing in front of you right now. What would you do?
Bro, this is so deep. Save myself, my younger self. Honestly, I feel like I'll just stand there and watch. Because my younger self did not know he would be here. So I'll probably just tell my younger self, oh, look, it's still you. You're still the same person. You're smarter now. You love yourself more now. And I believed in myself way more like when I was younger. But then I feel like I would still tell my younger self, like right now, I'm actually working towards achieving my dreams and actually putting in the work. I'll just tell myself to just calm down and just take life easy as it is. And just because of some little failure or a little bit of a sad wave, it doesn't mean that you have to die. It doesn't mean that your life is over. Just be happy, be considerable of yourself and the people around you, and just know that you have people that love you. Try as much as possible to see these people that love you and understand that they do.
Okay, for me, I think I would hug my younger self and tell her that life is treating her much better now and that she will be fine. She would be fine.
So what I would do, I would run. I would not just hug my younger self. I would run to her and literally kiss over her face. That's basically what I would do. Thank you both for coming. I really appreciate you being here. Jazakumullahu khairan to you both. I'm really grateful, honestly, that we got to have this conversation.
Thank you so much. Because I listen to this a lot.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I'm here and I got to also speak with Rahim. I hope that after this we get to collaborate. Thank you, Fadila. Thank you to Books and Coffee.
Thank you so much, honestly. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending your time with us. Obviously, healing is not a straight path. Some days are softer, some days are heavier. But what is important is that every day matters. Every little step counts. I mean,
One thing.
Okay, go on.
Remember, I'm trying to be poetic. Remember, just because you're swimming in your brain, it does not mean that like the shore isn't close by. You can always get out. I'm not telling you to get out of your brain, but like know how you swim inside of it. We're all swimming in our brains at the end of the day, trying to survive, trying to find answers. So just love yourself and be happy.
Whoa, thank you so much.
Okay, so this is something that I told myself recently as someone like when I was really, really suicidal. Just tell yourself like the next day will be better. For anyone out there who is feeling suicidal and feeling like, oh, okay, today is bad, today should be the end of my life. Tell yourself tomorrow will be better. If tomorrow comes, tomorrow is not still better. Tomorrow will be better. Just keep telling yourself tomorrow will be better. Eventually, one day, that tomorrow that is supposed to be better will come. And we want you to be here with us when that tomorrow comes.
Stay kind to yourself, stay gentle, and remember you're doing better than you realize. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.